My buddy Ryan and I were on a road trip a few years back, and we stopped at a Holiday Inn in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This was the only stop on the trip where we'd be staying in an actual hotel, so we decided to take advantage of the pool. Apparently everybody else was at the beer tent festival that we saw when we came into town, because the pool was empty. It was a ghost pool. I mean, there was water in it. You know what I mean. The deep end was only 8 feet deep, and I quickly discovered that I could spring off the bottom and shoot myself almost all the way out of the water. I couldn't believe I'd never figured this out before, but pretty soon I was, adding some flourish. A dive, and then a half twist, and then a back dive. At this point, I'm basically a dolphin, gracefully breaching and slicing back into the water, returning to the pool floor, my legs shooting me out again. I know, dolphins don't have legs, but imagine if they did. So I'm dead in the middle of my short program, and it's going great. I just came out of a beautiful back dive, and I start into a swan dive. Now, my form is tight, stunning even, back arched, arms out at 90 degrees, my head is up and back. And as I pass the apex of my dive, almost completely out of the water, I just barely begin to bring my arms forward, and I'm quite surprised when my throat unexpectedly collides with the concrete edge of the pool, with all of my weight behind me. I'd been doing all this with my eyes closed because I had my contacts in, and the chlorine and the contacts don't mix. And evidently I had, in my intense focus on form, forgotten to pay appropriate attention to where in the pool I was. But thank God for my impeccable technique. If I hadn't had my head back, it would have been my nose and my teeth probably that hit that concrete corner. At any rate, I was shocked, and my throat was completely numb. I slowly swim over to Ryan, who is playing safely in the shallow end, and I say, "Did you just see the colossally idiotic thing I just did?" And he says, "No." I say, "I just hit my throat on the side of the pool." He says, "Oh man. Hey, want to go check out the hot tub?" I say, "No, I think I want to check out the hospital." By this point, the feeling was racing back into my throat, and it was not a good feeling. My vocal cords felt like they weren't all vibrating, and my voice confirmed it. It was crackly and high, and I was having trouble getting air through my throat. So Ryan drives us wildly around Sioux Falls, a surprisingly difficult city to navigate. And I was freaking out, partly because I thought that I might choke on my own throat, and partly because I was afraid that if my voice didn't come back, I'd never be able to meet another woman. Like, can you imagine trying to pick up a girl with this voice? "Hey, baby! Want to go someplace more private?" It's like Grover at a singles bar. "Is your apartment near or far?" I finally get into the ER, and 3 nurses and 2 doctors make me tell the story over and over, which I find super annoying as my major symptom was extreme pain while talking. Eventually a doctor examines me and roughly pokes around on my neck. I decide to watch his face so I can read his expression. This was his expression. Terrible poker face. I say, "What's wrong?" He says, "Well, there's a floating bone in your throat, and I think you've broken it." "You think?" "I'm pretty sure." So I get some x-rays, and the x-ray tech makes me tell her the story too. I give her an abridged version. As I wait for the results, I get a morphine drip followed closely by a bit of a morphine trip. As it turns out, I broke no bones, but had sprained the hell out of my larynx. My only solid memory of the only night I've ever spent in the hospital was realizing that I was laying in a hospital bed in the hospital, fresh out of the ER, watching a Real Stories from the ER show. At least I think I was. Morphine. I got out the next morning, still with only a really creepy, quiet, pathetic voice. The rest of the road trip was pretty quiet, and the painkillers made our manufactured sign language pretty confusing. But we stopped at Wall Drug, and I got this bracelet that said, "That's hot" on it. So for the rest of the trip, anytime I was agreeing with him, I would just hold up my arm. "That's hot." My old voice never really came back, and I was left with this lower, raspier version that you hear today. It has led to a little bit of voiceover work, and hey, the chicks dig it. But the one thing that I've lost that I don't know if I'll ever get back is my Scooby-Doo voice. Rah, rah, spring larynx. No, actually that was pretty good.